Thank you. Microphone one check, 1, 2, I'm kidding. It's a DJ thing. Can somebody say scream? Are you ready? All right, wonderful. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure to be here indeed. In fact, the last time I was here was sort of, I think last year or early this year? December. Last year, December, right? Yeah, so in less than a year, it's good to be back. Thanks, Fred. And I mean, it was a fascinating evening, getting to engage with entrepreneurs and really just learn about industries that are very different to yours and different to the kind of stuff that I do. What exactly do I do? So first I had to look around the room and say, maybe I need to explain myself to some peoples here. So I was born in 2005, December. Right? Into the world of broadcasting and media. Yes. I was born on a radio station called YFM, which is, a youth station in Gauteng. At the time, it was really at the heartbeat of so much about youth culture before things really started opening up. And I spent 9 fantastic years there as a radio broadcaster doing different shows, from the morning shows to the afternoon shows. I learned a lot of valuable things about broadcasting. I was able to put what I studied in school, which was broadcasting and journalism, into effect and practice in the line of work that I do. So which was really cool. Something that a lot of people don't always experience. You study one thing and then you get into a completely different industry. And of course, as a millennial, I got to experience a lot of change in our country from a social cultural perspective. A lot of new things were born in the time that I sort of joined Y and in the years following. So with all the time that I spent at Y, I was able to build my brand as a broadcaster. I was able to get into television. Did a very cool show on ETV called Club 808, which was a music show, videos, artists, where's it happening, Ziwapi, and all that cool stuff out there, right? And in the same time, I was able to build my DJing career, which started back in high school. I was taught by a boy by the name of John Withers, who had equipment at home. His parents were generous enough to buy him turntables and a mixer and all that cool stuff. Of course, as a young black child in Soweto, it was always about either school fees or equipment, you understand? And of course, it was always going to be the education, because the equipment will come once you earn your own money. And he taught me how to DJ, God bless him. And I was able to grow that when I got into the industry. So the YFM story built a lot of who I am today, to be quite honest. I was able to expand, in different things, not just radio and television. I got into events, had cool concepts like Rock the Girls. Rock the Girls was like a movement, right? Born out of just daily lingo as we talk as people. So what were you doing last weekend? I was rocking the girls. Yes, and literally, that's how it was born. But it's interesting because the youth audience at the time knew exactly what it was about. It wasn't, oh my gosh, what do they mean? What are they doing to our daughters? No, it was about the essence and the fun and the vibrance of our weekend, hanging out with cool people. And through that, I was able to build a condom brand as an extension, which was really cool. To promote, responsible living amongst young people. True story. Of course, you know the story with business, right? That I think it's an 80-20, that 80-20 theory. 80% of businesses fail for different reasons. That concept happened to be one of them. Not that condoms weren't being used or there's no demand, or it was more about the maturity of the people behind the brand. We were still very young. So we failed to build it beyond. A lot of people approached us to take the business to the next level. And we were just like, nah, you want to buy us out? We want to keep it real. But of course, we were still wet behind the ears. So of course, that was a big part of my time at Y in the first 9 years of my career. And then of course, at some point, I felt I was useful enough to explore radio at a national level. And that's when Metro FM came into play. They pulled me over. And in the time that I've been there since 2015, I was able to do the afternoon show and now currently doing the breakfast show at Metro, which is really cool. A lot of the stuff that happened in my career came a lot earlier than I expected. Because I mean, I'm an 84 baby, right? So I didn't think that I would be where I am now. I thought maybe 5 years from this point is where I would be now. But what it does tell me is that sometimes you don't have control entirely over where your career goes, but you do have control over what you want from your career. And all I've ever wanted to do was just to do really great, engaging radio and talk to as many different people as possible. And I've been able to do that consistently for the last 14 years this December. And in that time, I've been able to travel the world, experience different things, work with amazing people, meet my idols, locally and internationally, and really tell a fantastic story about being South African and what you could possibly achieve if you really just put your mind, your heart, and your soul and your passion into what you do and passion into the people you're doing it for. Now, when I started in radio, right, you walk in a studio and all you have is a phone box or your phone lines and a screen for your emails. That was my reality. Fast track to today, you got to have your laptop open, your phone open, your tablet open. You got to be switched on to the social media platforms that you use. You've got to tweet and say, I'm now on air, even though you're actually on air, but you've also got to tweet it. So I think what I'm basically trying to say is, if you look at the flow and the trajectory of my experience in radio, I've seen radio with very little influence from a digital point of view and a massive influence from a digital point of view. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning that is when people talk about influences, a lot of it is based on the tool we call social media and this online platform, whatever it is that we explore and that we exploit. But I feel that if you do work with me as a brand, I'm not just selling my tweets and my followers, it's an entire story. And that's why I just told you an entire story. The story tells you about who I am, what I like, what I believe in, what I don't believe in, my values, my beliefs. Sometimes I change as a person, right? I've done work with brands that I identified with as a younger Mo Flava, and now I'm like, geez, students still drink that? You know, it's like, we change as people and we are aspirational and we dream. So when I work with brands, my point of departure is always, you know, is there a connection between me and the brand? Is there something that they're doing that relates to me? And how do I actually relate to them? Do they actually know who I am and do they know my story? It's available online, it's available everywhere. I'm just giving you a brief summary of it now. And I've had some really interesting experiences working with brands. I don't know if I'm an influencer or not. I certainly got a lot of reach, and maybe I've convinced people to buy condoms or go to parties and clubs, buy t-shirts, buy sneakers, because I love sneakers. But the fact of the matter is, it's more than just about followers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My thing is an entire story. I've had instances where brands approach me and they want to do a campaign, and it's all exciting in the beginning. And then all of a sudden you realize that they actually have no idea who you are. And that speaks a lot to the industry as far as, you know, advertising, marketing, all of it combined, is that there isn't enough effort when speaking with the influencers or the brands or the personalities in South Africa that actually speak to the people in numbers. You understand? And that for me has been the biggest problem. And that's why sometimes a brand will come to you with something that is totally unrelatable to your following or your audiences or your reach, because they have no idea who you are. And it doesn't take much. If you're serious about the money you're about to spend, be serious about the action you take in working with the personalities and the brands that you say you want to work with. Yeah, it's easy to say we just want to attract black people. But black people are not like one thing, it's just blacks. We are dynamic as people, right? And I'm glad I'm actually having this talk in Cape Town, because it needs to sink in and hit home with a lot of people who are in the industry of marketing, and advertising and whatever you want to call it. We are dynamic, we're different, we have different stories as much as we all have a commonality, whether it's blackness, South Africanness, whatever. An example of a really bad campaign, which actually started as a good idea, one of the car brands wanted to do a drive down from Johannesburg, I think to Durban, and then from Durban to somewhere along in the Eastern Cape, and then all the way to Knysna eventually. And those would take about 5 odd days in total. And I was chatting to my partner Jill, and she said, listen, this is the thing. And I said, I love it. I love it because, yeah, I love cars, but I also love traveling because as a club DJ, that's what I do on the weekends. In fact, I'm in Durban this weekend if anybody's around in Durban. And I said, listen, because these guys are saying we're going to travel and see the country in this cool car, by all means. The fact that it was that brand was important because it was a credible brand with heritage, strong, resounding influence in the space. And yeah, I can afford it, but that's not why I'm hopping into the car in the first place to do this campaign with them. I love the idea. And fast track, a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden the idea has changed. Now there's a big race event in Knysna, and which was the culmination of everything. And in essence, we're no longer doing the drive down the scenic routes. We're now just going to go and paint some houses in Knysna in some other community that needs the help. And I said, well, with all due respect, I will not go to my people and paint their houses because my people need more than paint on their houses. And I said, look, I'm all about the experience. You're not going to entice me because I'm painting people's houses. I do that anyway where I'm from, in Soweto or Alex, where I go sometimes and do some really cool stuff. It is, the feeling that I felt was disappointment. And I thought, you actually don't know who I am. I can afford your car, right? And I fit your LSM profile. But I'm not doing it because of that. I'm doing it because I love the essence of what you guys are doing. And that is the point that I'm trying to make, is that, sometimes it's not about the value or the material side of the brands. Yeah, you're going to get free kicks, a free car. I mean, come on, right? It's about what you're doing and what you represent. I have a responsibility to my reach, my followers, who have betted on me from day one in the industry to say, guys, when I say hop in this car and drive around your country, I'm saying it because I believe in what they're about, and this car actually loves your country the way we do. If I do it the other way around, I'm taking my following for granted, right? Essentially, the answer was no on my side, and the response was, well, we're paying you. I said, well, I don't care about your money. I care about the essence of what you're trying to do. And for me, that's really the thing about it. A really great example of a bad idea. And then, of course, sometime and there have been many others, right? At some point this year, I'll point out another one. Cellular network brand. They want to tap into the whole WhatsApp space and all of that. So they reach out and they want to do something cool. And the idea is basically to have a boo-boo where you send a text message to the wrong group. Something that we all relate to, right? It all happens. We've sent nudes to in-laws and whatever. It happens. Or you sent the wrong e-wallet to the wrong slave queen. I don't know, So these are sort of the realities that we experience on WhatsApp. So it's a common human story. And I bought into the idea, and I said, listen, can I design my own message? Because I don't trust you guys as agencies and whatever fancy positions. So let me decide what I want to say. Let me decide my own boo-boo, my own fate. And pretty much that was the whole thing. And and eventually we got to something cool, which they were very party to as well, and that had a lot of influence in the final idea. And so there it was. I posted a boo-boo, and now all of a sudden this boo-boo now lives on social media for all to see through a screen grab, right? So everyone's seen, oh, you said to your colleague that this and that and whatever, and that wasn't supposed to be for everyone, it was supposed to be for her, but accidentally you posted it to a group on WhatsApp. Cool. Gets great traction on social media, it's a buzz, the whole day I'm getting phone calls, and it's a whole thing. And then the following day, these guys, this brand, right, it decides, no, we're going to do the same thing with another DJ on another radio station. Same thing, right? On another station at SABC, one of the ALS stations or the Venac stations, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was you've taken the same idea and you've copied and pasted with another DJ, whatever, right? Now, essentially what that does is that it completely disempowers the authenticity and the realness of this thing, right? And in my mind, I thought, how did this all slip through? How did nobody pick up that this is actually a stupid idea? If you say you're coming to me because you believe my audience will respond and relate to this thing, then be real about it. Don't go and take the same idea and implement it with another person or another influencer because now for you it's just copy and paste and we just want to do this campaign and finish and then we're done. And it almost creates the impression that there isn't enough effort on the brand side to actually understand whether you're approaching this guy because he's an influencer or a person of whatever status in the industry, or whether you're just chasing whatever. That's what it says to me. And of course I was very upset, and I did voice my disappointment, and that just became another very bad example of how not to do some really cool things with really great people. But a good example would be something I did with one of the alcohol brands. It's a whiskey brand. I drink whiskey, so we tick that box. Now, the thing about it is it taps into the spirit of being a challenger, a maverick, a game changer in your respective industry, space, whatever. Whether it's fashion, engineering, accounting, whatever it is. And that was the concept. And they wanted to take people from different industries, put them in a room, and talk about how they got to where they are, right? What does it mean to be a challenger? What does it mean to be a maverick? And that for me speaks to me because I believe in exactly that. I believe that there are a lot of great people out there who are not necessarily in the media industry like I am, who have great stories that are inspirational and motivational to millions of South Africans, and it needs to be heard. And of course, I was game for that, and it was a great idea. The campaign was a success, I think, and it was documented well through a podcast. There was a social media presence, and there was an on-air radio element as well. So I'm deliberately avoiding using influencer to reference who I am because I started before all this madness, right? But I do recognize the fact that I've built platforms online and they're there to be used. But I'm very, very protective of my platforms because it's all about understanding who I am. I will go out of my way to understand who you are, and let's find each other somewhere in the middle and do some really cool stuff. A lot of the campaigns that I've worked on have always swayed towards using more than just the online space. It's also my radio show, and then my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook platforms, YouTube, and then some sort of on-the-ground experience as well. And I feel that's a more total, well-rounded exercise because it ticks more boxes than just asking me to post or tweet something. So I think for the most part, those are just some of the examples that I wanted to highlight. But above all I'm saying is know the person's story whom you want to work with, so that when you work with them, it's real and authentic. The authenticity will come because naturally you would have done your homework. But of course, I'd love to expand on some of the other points that I've raised and touched on through my thought. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm looking forward to engaging with you guys. And tomorrow morning I will be on air again, and I'm hoping to score at least 2 listeners from this room. I'm not asking for much, just 2 listeners. So please, Metro FM tomorrow morning. But I'm still here, so thank you.
Thank you.